So wait or no. So wait.
Do the drum thing. 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 Drum thing. Drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop the killing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop. To stop. To stop. To stop. Do the drum thing. To stop. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop. To stop. Drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. Do the drum thing. To stop the killing.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Woo. It's a wild one. Oh yeah. Hold up. Shout outs to Hood Rave out in LA. Friend of the show, DJ Bay, and the Hood Rave crew just released the Rhythm to Revolt Solidarity compilation as a Palestine benefit, going to the Gaza Mutual Aid Solidarity Fund and the NDLON Immigrant Defense Fund as well. Okay, so we're getting in on both fronts. And if you go and see, and I'll put the little link in the chat for you, you'll see that I am on there as well, which is fantastic. I'm on that. I'm on the compilation, yo. In fact, I feel like I played some of that for you here previously. I don't know if that was on this public one or on the private one. I forget. Anyways, go check it out. Go support the cause. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to another wonderful edition of Group Critique Fight Club with your boy Max Alper, Parrotsky, whatever you want to call me. We are coming to you live this evening up here in Hudson Valley, New York. We got ourselves some wonderful music on board this evening. As per usual, we have some presenters helping support the show, and we have a special one for this episode as well as our usuals. First of all, shout outs to our special sponsor for today, a one-off sponsor for today, our boy Josh at Selects For You, which is really just a single human being music curator providing you with some very wonderful selections. Find them on Instagram at selects.for, the number 4.you, selects.for.u on IG. There's just literally no point in finding music via an algorithmic recommendation. I think I hate the Antichrist. I hate that shit. But oftentimes people do feel like they need recommendations, Nothing wrong with seeking third parties to find new music to listen to. Obviously our music criticism and journalism landscape is a bit shifting right now, and if you're seeking for something a little less formal and you're already on social media, you're already scrolling on Instagram, why don't you just go to Selects For You and listen to something new? Always a better option out there, and this is one of them. So shout outs to Selects For You for supporting us. Definitely give them a follow. And once again, shout outs to our consistent longtime sponsor, supporter of the show, Tape Trade, www.tapetrade.io. Go on ahead and get you some. Share your files privately or publicly, and stream losslessly in browser, which is always lovely. And sign up. Don't get any ads, no AI data scraping. If you sign up at tapetrade.io/2-week-trial, you will get 2 weeks free with no obligation. And we will obviously, once again, be linking in the show notes if you need it and you want it. thank you both for the wonderful support. And yeah, we're going to get to some music. Thanks for hanging and banging with me. Let me pull up my music here. I think we're just going to have monthly playlist folders on the tape trade and just like consistently kind of go off of the queue, basically transfer the submissions that we get on the Discord gradually over to the queue here on, like, let's say a monthly tape trade public playlist. So I've added everything in the queue so far besides Jero. I feel like I've been calling you the wrong name the whole time, but Jero has submitted multiple submissions, and I picked one for today, but we will add the others in there shortly. But for now, I wanted to just add one in there, and we got a few in the queue right now. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get to all of them today, but that'll be the beauty of it, is that we can just return to tradition. We can just return to it in the next week. So we got ourselves a newcomer. Who we got on the Discord? They wrote us a little text. What's up, y'all? I'm Adi. I'm from New Hampshire, and I work as an engineer at the Internet Archive. Whoo! Shout outs to you. You know, there is far and fewer ethical, doing it for the right reasons tech jobs out there, especially at a large scale. And the Internet Archive is cream of the crop. And so shout outs to you. Good work. Keep it up. Been a sub to the Lameme Young days and found the Patreon and Discord when I deleted Insta from my phone. That's awesome. This is a beautiful test subject here. Someone that we were able to migrate from a horrible platform onto a less horrible platform, just the Discord here. That's awesome. I prefer to stay on here than have to be fucking posting to get more people onto here, but posting on the main platforms. Anyways, Adi continues to write, I was at Basilica Soundscapes a couple of weeks ago, and I walked in on me, Parrotsky, giving an incisive talk, which you will all be able to hear on Montez Press Radio and in print later this month with Montez and Viscose Journal. I wrote a little essay on music, fashion, the general algorithmic vibes, as we call it. Not really fun stuff, but it'll be a blast. But anyways, so you're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear that eventually. But looks like Adi got wind of it early and got to see me doing a live reading of it at Basilica Hudson earlier this month. Shout outs to Jen Pelly, not my podcast co-host Liz Pelly, but her twin sister Jen, for inviting me to be as part of the reading series. And Adi should have come said hi, bro. Come say hi if you see me at the shit. That goes for everybody. Be normal, but come say hi, you know? But you somehow put two and two together, and it was in fact me that was there. Well, now you know. And then you continue to write, anyways, really appreciate this community. Here is an electro swing UK drill, ? Track my friend and I had fun making about a certain accused killer a few months back. Amateur for sure, but hopefully my homie's verse makes up for my production. Hell yeah. Beam Chaperone with the tracks Ghost Guns, 54th and 6th. Oh. Put two and two together if you don't know who this is about. I don't know what to tell you. 54th and 6th, featuring CEO Killa. Let's go.
really out loud and insult intelligence and mad people and good spirit.
I'm not scared, I'm Luigi. Kept the weapon, it was printed in 3D. Said it better than Ted did. Knee deep in debt, but I still want the credit. Got a ghost on my docket. Got a pen in my pocket. Empathetic or hostile. You can't tell him it's the lead in my faucet.
Step in my city, you Brian Thompson. Last year you did 10 million, now buy a coffin. Last year you had 10 million, denied awesome. No pity, die broken, die often. Now why you tryna cost us, Jim Acosta? You want a PPO, what's your problem? Luigi, come and clear your whole roster. You down the CEO like ayahuasca. You turn a CEO into pastor. Delay, deny, defend, that's their mantra. Son of a farmer, bitch, a big farmer. Fucking bad apple couldn't have fallen farther.
You ran to the core.
Back hurt, he needed to see a doctor, but the policy had some weird clause. Lobster, that's how they rob ya. Like up the new ruin heat, there's no way out like Kevin Costner.
Today, tonight,
Depose.
I'm not scared, I'm Luigi. Shot the sheriff, but the deputy caught me. He said, that's my boss, that's my money. Defending wealth, I'm serving my country. Went to pen back in college. Back to the pen in an outfit. 1% ain't a problem. You're up next, got a pension for cost cuts.
Yo. This might be a first, y'all, of what we can, without irony or exaggeration, say this might be our first piece of like genuine musical theater on it's definitely the public stream, but even the private stream, because this is you are checking off all the boxes here, including the absurdism and comedy factor of it. Like to me, like you have created a New York, a very New York moment. You've created a very realist painting here, and it's just throwing it through this multi-genre, and also like really strong on the sound design production, like three multi-genre, obviously the electro swing or whatever we want to call that, and drill, but the sound design itself, like your choice of diegetic, you know, like cityscape sound to some extent, but also just kind of the murkiness of it. It all really blends really quite nicely for a, how long? 3.5 minute track that is playing into, you know, a couple different main genre tropes, but taking us there like it's a scene. You know, it's not really necessarily like straightforwardly a song. It's really just playing us into like one to the next, to the next, to the next, you know? It's like we're on a roller coaster, or we're on this like track that's just continuous. You know what I'm saying? It's really I'm serious. We don't really have stuff that is like genuine laying into the theatricality of it all. And I don't mean this as a down, like a bad thing here. I'm still viewing this from the macro lens as experimental, absurdist, multi-genre sort of trajectory of a composition, and obviously like following some song structure. We have the electro swing verse and then that refrains as well, but we have this intro and outro of soundscape, urban soundscape, and then with the the usage of the UK drill thrown right in there, as if we're just like turning a corner and entering a new, the change is absurd, going from such one genre to the next at such extreme sort of shift in genre. But I mean, like, there are plenty of examples of that in fucking Broadway. You know what I mean? Like, the usage of hip hop is now becoming its own sort of musical theater trope, for better or worse, but in this case, I mean, it's almost like John Zorn, like laying into the sort of tropish comedy, almost Weird Al kind of that comes with the swing side of it, the playfulness, talking about murder, right? I mean, that is very clear storytelling going on here. And then juxtaposing that with actual murder music, drill, I think is quite clever. But to me, it all sort of like plays into a scene. So now we need the full story to be told. Unfortunately, you now have an entire musical you need to write. You heard it here, folks. This is the onus is now on you. The ball is in your court. This is oh man, I'm glad we get this shit. I'm glad we get every fucking genre under the sun. Don't let me wax pontificating about like obscure weird ass electroacoustic sound art whatever bullshit on the internet. Don't let you think don't make that any sort of indicator in your brain that like this is we're trying to imply aesthetic leanings here. That's the beauty of this. We're so agnostic and open as far as I think that there is merit in every subgenre here. There's also, shit in every subgenre. And for the sake of us being here, it's about finding our way out of the shit. But it doesn't matter what genre we're in. Or genres. Whatever we want to call this. Turning the radio dial between Hot 97 and I don't know, what plays electro swing? Would it be like WNYC fucking Prairie Home Companion when that was still on the air? Switching between that and Hot 97, that's what we're hearing here. And then with some heavily processed radio static in between, some abstract zones of wandering in between. Good stuff. You never know what you're going to get here. You never know what you're going to get. All right. Looks like we got some more new stuff, some more new people here. Alo Pratos. Did they write anything for us in the Discord? Nope. They just gave a bone emoji. Good. Alo Pratos. Canibalito. We're going to hear this one. No context. Going into it raw.
Uno, dos, tres, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres, dos, dos.
absurd for a different reason. Absurd. Oh man, this is that virtuosity absurdity. This is that we're living in a post math rock society, as I've noticed on the interwebs and on the TikToks, where we are taking. I think there's an inherent humor to a lot of math rock and multi-metered music in general, where it's like, if you've ever been in a band that plays this music, often the songwriting process, in my experience, and I've played very little of formal classical math rock, traditional math rock, but in some multi-metered or heavy on the odd metered music in the past, I've played some of this, and to write this music collaboratively, oftentimes it's like, all right, we did 2 measures of this in that, let's switch it up and to do 2 measures of this in that, and it's this very conscious sort of thought process as far as how to flip when your audience, when your ear is starting to get a little comfortable in this zone, in this metrical zone or modal zone, before being like, all right, we're too comfortable, let's roll the dice here, and it becomes a very formulaic thought process as a songwriter that some people like just thrive in. And I think oftentimes the people that I know who write music really well in this zone of it's really composition brain, like arrangement on paper, in theory, like I am following this sort of rubric as far as when I am going to change tempo, when I'm going to change meter, when I'm going to switch modes potentially, because this was plenty chromatic music, and virtuosically so. But I'm curious, whoever you are, Alo Pratos, I'm curious as far as your training and background on this, because what I was going to say is that many of the people I know who do this really well are drummers primarily, like as their trained instrument, which makes sense to some degree. Like why like someone who thinks so rhythmically, how does one do that? And oftentimes it's the same people who drumming and doing multi-limbed coordination and things from really tapped in rhythmically. It's those same people. So I'm and that's been in my experience here. So I'm curious as far as your background as an instrumentalist, if this is a band, if this is a solo project, because it's very clocked in and cued in on the production and electronics as much as it feels like live instruments. It feels very much a studio project as much as it is a performance project, just from what I'm hearing. So I'd be really curious to know your background on this. This doesn't seem like music you can just wing it. It sounds like there's serious process involved here. I've never been able to click as a composer making this sort of work. Composer performer, let's say. Maybe I'm just not as tight a performer as I once was, and I've never really wanted to practice like that to the degree of precision that we see here. But maybe I'm just like, it's like that classic meme of like the South Korean sharpshooter with all the gear doing like the amazing shot, and it's just like representative of like getting the job done, getting the gold medal with like as much technical prowess as possible, and like all of the fixins and how to get there. And then it's like comparing that to the Turkish gold medalist sharpshooter who just was like had no gear and he was shooting it sideways and he still got the gold medal. And it's like that's to me like getting the job done with as little as possible, like minimalism versus maximalism, whatever you want to call it. Like there is beauty in juxtapositions like that, and they both get the job done depending on the person. To me, like I find myself in a compositional setting sort of leaning on the Turkish guys, less is more approach. But really it's because I'm conscious to know like where my strengths are, and working with less is how I can get shit done. I feel more productive that way. But there are plenty of people out there, and maybe yourself included, that feel tapped in when they're composing to the formula, you know, and the math rock formula is just one of them. And this isn't even math rock. This is post math rock. We've been hearing some post music so far between this and the previous track from Beam Chaperone. I would absolutely call that post as well. It's a beautiful word. Apply it when you're not sure what to ascribe specific subgenre sound. It's post music, you know. That's what we specialize in here. Fantastic stuff. I really I like Blonde also wrote in the chat, this is also very musical theater-esque in your opinion. I like that too, from the like technical, theatrical, almost like how often, like I would imagine like Zappa and some of the earliest sort of pioneers, I guess, of prog and math rock, you know, like 60s and 70s onward, that has this I don't know, theatricality in the like literal musical theater sense of the word, but this like, you know, flourishing. I mean, to some extent, yes. Like I think that you could listen to some Stephen Sondheim, and you might be able to take away some of this as well, because there's plenty of modality in that, and it's also very technical and tight music. You know, like the people that play in that type of band, like a pit band, for example, like these are the same people that you know, and people that would play on talk show pit bands or SNL, things like that. The members of those bands were literally also members of Mothers of Invention and the people that Frank Zappa worked with, just like the most technically proficient players. So, you know, in a way, Blonde is tapping into something here. Absolutely. Serious stuff. This is trad. Yeah, that's right. Sondheim was a student of Milton Babbitt. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's you could actually hear the connection in that, you know, not in the atonal, I don't care if you listen, mathlete, uptown experimentalist avant-garde that Milton Babbitt was, but just in the, there's precision. This is not music that's meant to be, you know, there's not looseness involved. There's no room for real improvisation in a lot of this music. This is tight. This is precise, through composed music. So yeah, there you go. Through line between Babbitt to musical theater and then to math rock at the end of it. Lovely stuff. Who do we got? Speaking of Blonde, we got Blonde back in the mix. What did they write? What did you write? Sup. Here's the song I'm sending for tonight. One that won't be out officially for a while, but I plan on putting it on my next album. More sporadic peer emo goodness. That's right. Shout outs to the peer emo scene. We are we are purveyors of peer emo here on the Group Critique Fight Club public live stream. Initiating by Blonde. Let's go.
I wish it was possible to swim in there and not die. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Take us inland. We had to walk all the way to town, past some farms and a termite spin around. Was by your side while the grass brushed our sides. Unknown journey from the sun we couldn't hide. I got a summer that boiled my blood, but didn't matter cause I knew I was loved. We made it to town, and some food we chomped down. Local culture around us so renowned. Everyone was a friend that was found. They didn't demand for more. It was known in society. Loud, soon epicures will be proud of how moderation envious with each other with the view I had from your back.
You are nature, much time too. I love you just as you did to me too. All the wind blew through your hair. I was so nervous I all to stare. Breaking your heart, not more I would dare. Everything with you and me was fair. I held you by my side and our love spin round. Like the turbines making heat for the town. Like the light on a rod that is brown. Hunting is full of fish that is proud. Like a group of lions when it comes to being raised. Not leaving mom and dad all day, but it won't always be this way. Moderation is the way. Staying in one place will make you pay.
No choice for living, no choice for dying. So you might as well not live on the shelf. Come close to ground. Get back on your feet. Stay in balance or else the way forward will last something else.
It's just an evening of post music, y'all. We just full of post. So post. Lovely, lovely stuff from Blonde on this pure emo. You know, it's still not there's obviously some there's some descriptors we can use. Sorry, I'm adding a limiter to my whatchamacallit, my fucking live stream OBS here, just so I don't clip. Try not to fucking clip here. Did that make it quieter? It did. I don't need to be that quiet. I can raise it a little bit. I just don't want to be at the red. What was I saying? I love that we're calling this pure emo, and I don't have fresh in my memory your first submission that we listened to as part of this. But I do remember the exaggeration, let's say it, in the production itself. And in this case, not shying away from glitch, which we had mentioned a few times in the chat. Live on the stream, sneezing on the stream. The vocal production, the vocal delivery this time though actually felt comparatively, and I don't have it like I said fresh in my ear. Thank you, bless up. Whatchamacallit, I don't have the vocals in my head from the previous track that we listened to before, but I don't recall them being, as in this case, like feeling much more literally emo. Like, not just like emo hip hop, but like emo, like Midwest emo in general. I don't know if you've heard of the band Blonde, Why? I don't know if you've heard of just like the word why with the question mark at the end. I believe they're from Cincinnati. I'm not exactly sure where. But they're, part of this wave of indie rock 2000s. That absolutely sort of blended a Midwest emo sort of delivery of vocals into an also sort of rapped environment. I need to look up where Y is from. That's just gonna bug me until I figure that out, because that's important. Y band, Cincinnati. I was right. You know why I'm right? Because they headlined the festival that I was like playing like the pregame show for in Cincinnati on my Midwest tour. That's why I thought Cincinnati. Yes, so you can definitely check them out, and I think you'll immediately understand why I'm recommending them for you, because they have obviously this very conscious affiliation with Midwest emo at its origin point. I mean, they've probably been around since the late 90s? I need to look that up. Looking it back up. Why don't I keep the fucking tab open? That's silly. Y band. 1997. Yeah, they've been around. They've been around. They're fully a part of this shit. Cincinnati rapper and singer Yoni Wolf founded it and started it as a stage name for himself, but has since expanded to a full band. This is absolutely up your alley here. And it's reminding me, tapped into that on a not band oriented approach to this, but still like loving your, sort of playfulness with melody, but also kind of just in a kind of classic emo sense as well. Like, just kind of like, it's not screaming, it's not singing, it's not necessarily even straightforwardly rapping either. It's kind of like verbal shrugging. Like, you're just like, ah! Like, it's just like exclaiming, which I really do enjoy, especially juxtaposed to this like completely alien and post-digital, super exaggerated production that, we're coming to associate with your pure emo subculture here. But yeah, no, this is absolutely, I'd be curious in your work, like, does the pure emo stuff tend to fall under, we can hear a production sort of synergy between this and the previous one, but vocals, like, is there a pure emo vocal style that's kind of consistent throughout your scene and throughout other songs of yours? Or is this like about this sort of experimental hip hop, exaggerated and clipped out beat making with some melodic vocals occasionally? I'd be curious in your own words how you describe specifically like vocal delivery in this sort of subgenre. You're kind of at the Josh saying, I've only ever seen Freaks complimentary post about why. Yeah, they're definitely a deep cut. And fucking 30-year-old band at this point. Blonde writes, pure emo is very much a mixture of screamo and singing. Okay, so that's part of it as well. And I remember their screaming in the previous one, more straightforwardly screaming. But this one, exclaiming. I'm going back to it. That's how we should be describing a lot of delivery here. We got to find more words for these things, exclaiming's a good one here. I would love more exaggeration in your voice, like from the production side. Like, I appreciate the rawness juxtaposed to the like it deeply entrenched production going on here. Like, in the fucking computer, I am the microchip glitch, but like from a vocal perspective, like doubling, tripling your voice, giving us some stereo width. I'm not saying like glitch out your voice here. I'm saying like it's good to take signals that are mono and turn them stereo somehow. It could be like artificially doubling your channel. It could be like literally delivering the same verse twice or three times and then creating a stereo spread of yourself, but I think that like just like more vocal production that's just like attenuated from verse to chorus or whatever. We can obviously hear the change in your voice, tone of voice, things like that, but it would be nice to have that also complemented by the production itself. These are like hip-hop mixing, vocal mixing in and of itself is like an unsung art form, because oftentimes we really only associate with like rapper, vocalist, and producer, the beat maker, right? But man, like so much of the sauce is in the mix, the vocal mix that goes into, and I'm talking like top 40 like pop hip hop, like radio friendly hip hop, things like that. There is an art form to that is shouldn't be overlooked, especially when we're trying to mutate it and create our own bizarre subgenres that have nothing to do with that commercial side of it, And yeah, absolutely. Joshua writing, multiple takes can be sick when they don't quite sync up. Yeah, and there's no way to perfectly sync. That's the point, is that there are imperfections throughout. And that's what makes it great. When singing, too, you create a human chorus effect, because you're not going to be by the hertz, like perfectly in tune with yourself. Even if you are, by human standards in tune, there's still going to be little like that, you know, and that creates a nice chorusy effect. It's very natural sounding, you know, it sounds more natural than using a chorus effect. It sounds more human. Blonde writes, my music is very much a mixture of a lot of things, but I've been listening to hip-hop since I was like 3, definitely making pure emo, hyper-pop, hip-hop ass music. Yes. Oh, we could tell. Keep doing it. Expand that vocal mix a little bit. Expand on this. We're on the ground floor of this pure emo. We in on the ground floor. All right, so yeah, I usually layer multiple takes. May go back and virtually add to this one because I decided a bit ago that this song isn't totally finished yet. Yeah, I mean, it's also like these are the things that should change from verse to verse, you know? Like it's okay to have one, you know, one chain of effects or like one take or, you know, one mode of production for the first verse versus second verse, etc., etc. You know, like that indicates development dynamically. That indicates development compositionally. You know, it's just one of those things that isn't going to be illustrated by just like production choices from like the way that your instruments and tracks are arranged. It's but more production choices by how it's engineered, how it's mixed, right? It's a little more subtle, but that creates growth. You know, I think we should, anybody making songs, anybody making pop music, whatever the fuck you want to call that, you know, you should absolutely be making changes to your channels throughout the song. Create development that way, you know? It's just, it's what the pros do, quite literally. Ride your levels. Always ride your levels, at the very least. Get that shit louder by the end. Let it smack. All right. We got a new one from Jero. Humankind Persists, and you've submitted multiple ones, but we're going to listen to one today, if that's all right with you. But we got more on the way. All right. Humankind Persists. All right, man. We are fucking 4 for 4 on the post term. More post music for your fucking ear holes, man. Jero wrote, yes, a chaotic day here at Group Critique Fight Club Industries. Absolutely. Pure chaos. Lovely, lovely fucking chaos. It's funny because Jero wrote, after posting this on the Discord, Philip Glass vibes, I think. Which I don't know exactly what you mean by that, besides that there is a lot of repetition of sounds happening in various degrees, but to me it's more Steve Reich than Philip Glass, in that we're hearing, this is phasing music, right? This is rhythm studies music. Absolutely. We're hearing, it's just great to like apply phasing, minimalism, minimalism phasing to the wonky, if we want to call it, the drunken pocket grooves that we're hearing here as well, because there's a lot of, it's like the consistency of the hi-hat or tambourine, whatever that is, that we're hearing throughout, and the other elements that are absolutely out of that grid, potentially out of that tempo entirely, out of that meter entirely, and creating these repetitive, interlocked phases that occur. Breathplay agrees that this is Glass. Okay, it's Glassian. It does have a little bit of similar flavor to Glass's work with the junk instrument band Ukti. Uakti. How do we pronounce that? And I mean, I think that there's once again a theatricality to a lot of this, from an almost Zappa, or in the case of Philip Glass as well, more like Einstein on the Beach. Einstein on the Beach, sort of bombastic. It has this. It has a bombasticness to it. It has and obviously dynamically, we're not trying to be quiet here. We're going for big sounds here. So I take it back. I'm seeing the vision. It's a bit Glassian and a bit Reichian. Also writing, it's propulsive in a way that Reich tends to feel static. Theatric, that's the word, but not a lot of narrative in Reich compared to Glass. That's true. All right. Well, I stand corrected in the discourse, because there's only one right answer to this, and I had the wrong answer. It's Glassian. All right. Well, there we go. Fantastic. I mean, this is Jero has played us works throughout the years, and it feels like, and we talked about this last time when you submitted the shifting into more experimental avenues while still maintaining, elements that have been there the entire time, and, truly grounding in this pocket rhythms, I'm calling it, like deep in the pocket, semi-swung, unquantized at times, quantized at other times, like the Yankee lose. Yes, oh my god. I'm not going there right now. Shout outs to David Ortiz. The consistency in your work, Jero, of finding the pocket in earlier iterations in more formal beat sense, but now deconstructing that and finding something well beyond the just loops and grooves, but finding a true compositional voice that is uniquely yours, which I really appreciate. You sticking with this and continuing to work in this realm. It's deconstructed, it's collage in a way. I think that that's one way of thinking about this here. That is it reminds me a lot actually of like what Jay Lin did with Footwork. You know, like they started out as a more formal footwork producer and have just like continued to veer off further and further into left field to the point where now they're making like chamber music, like percussion ensemble works, scores, like full new music, live quote unquote classical music, if you want to call it, you know, just like pushing the gambit further and further as a rhythm organizer, you know, making rhythm studies. And you're doing that here in a more, you know, a less footworky way and still more like hip hop informed way. But to me, like, and you're well aware of this, as you're saying, like veering off into minimalism in a more traditional sense outside of genre specificity and more of the aesthetic specificity here, however you want to describe the genre influences. There are plenty, but this is more, you know, self-encapsulated as a sound world while still illustrating some minimalist origins at their most, you know, traditional, which is really lovely. I think that's a testament to Glass, a testament. He's not even my favorite minimalist, but I mean, like, the accessibility and palatability of a lot of that music tends to find its way into every other fucking genre, popular pop music or otherwise, you know, and that's not a bad thing. I think that, like, again, full circle to me, like, I'm a less is more guy, and if we can like apply that ethos to any genre, I'm going to be much more enthused. I'm going to have my ears that much more. I just have too much ADHD. I can't be dealing with too much at once. Give me 3 effective things really well, and I'll take that any day over 10 effective things, you know, that make a composition or a song. And, you know, it's doing things simply and effectively. And Gerald, you're doing that here. You're doing it here, and it's still consistently yours, you know. I'm very happy you've come back to us. Very glad to hear the development of your compositional voice here. All right. I think for today we're going to do one more, and then we'll get right back to it next week with you know, we'll add even more to this this playlist here. But I do have a house guest that's leaving tomorrow morning, so I feel bad. And you know, this is our 5th track for today, and we got something from Breath Play playing us out this time. They write to us, kind of get a sanity check on this mix and master, kind of just vibing it because I don't have a lot of time, and this is inherently goofy from an audio standpoint. A 1998 vintage CD mix master beneath record box EQ and FX, beneath an Ableton EQ Tone Dynamics package. I'm sure if a pro engineer had a look at it and look at how I put together, they would obviously add some kind of dither-related stroke. But, like, does it sound good, bizarre on purpose rather than just sloppy? Do any obviously needed tweaks stand out, especially with EQ? All good questions. And yes, folks, if y'all want to just listen to your work and we could talk about it, definitely submit it. But if you have specific questions, doubts, questions, concerns about your work that you want brought up on the air with me and in the chat, feel free to articulate them as clearly as you want. That helps us. So, you know, Breath Play, obviously a seasoned veteran of Group Critique Fight Club, knows this. But for those that are new, feel free to get as specific in the weeds inquiry. What the hell? Get as specific as you want. All right. From Breath Play, Boyfriend Jesus.
And I can't tell, 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 and I can't tell.
Never know what you're gonna get. Pure chaos here. This is our post episode. Absolutely. You're asking if this sounds good. Yes, I do think it sounds good. And as you're saying in the chat, apparently it's getting bricked a bit, but I don't know if it was the OBS limiter or if it was the YouTube artifacts or something, but it seems to be getting a little chewed up a little bit. And that was actually my thought here was the way that I'm hearing it, at least on my end, and maybe that I'm listening to it not through the OBS monitor. I was thinking it sounds very clean. It actually sounds pretty decent in the shiny sort of poppier sort of sense, as if you're mixing it like pop music, even though we are making this plunderphonic vaped out live mix of sorts. But I kind of wanted it to, as maybe from a mix perspective, keep it clean and shiny, but from a master perspective, it's like I kind of wanted a bit more dirt on it, not necessarily squeezing from a limiter perspective, but I don't know, some of the muffled low pitched down sort of sounds have a very digital DJ software sort of quality to it. It sounds like record box pitch shifter. in that way. And it's also in relation to the audiophile quality that you are playing through the software. Like, as if it's anything under than like a 48 a 320 kps MP3, we could pick up more of the sample rate sort of clunkiness when it's slowed down, and it has this very digital sort of quality to it. And I'm not sure like at what fidelity your audio files are going in to the record box when making these mixes, right? I doubt you have the big ass wave files, the masters, the true masters. So like, to what extent are the digital artifacts that we're talking about here MP3 artifacts that are coming through, especially exaggerated when we pitch shift it and slow down and stretch out the MP3, right? I'm not sure the origins of that. That's kind of the beauty here, is the obfuscation of digital artifacts and audio, depending on at what point in the layer, in the chain of listening and media consumption do we hear this digitalism. But to me, it's like, if we wanted to, personally, I would like a bit more grit from like a tapiness sort of element to this, not necessarily like audibly distorted, but certainly excitation and saturation on the master to have a bit more of like a Sound Toys radiator amp like mastering tool that they use. That's a really fucking good one, or something like that. Oh, you said you lost internet for the past minute, unfortunately. From what I heard, it sounded like it's surreally smooth in a digital way. Yes, and my question, I guess, to you is, do you want to maintain that like hyper digitalism here? Because I'm sort of viewing it outside of context of how the music is being presented, and just thinking about like my gut instincts hearing this sort of thing. And to me, it's like thinking about this from like, saturate everything tends to be my my go-to these days, like tasteful bits of distortion and making something that's seemingly very in the box sounding a bit more out of the box sounding. Okay, so you have been A/B testing with the little radiator. Exactly. That's what I'm saying here. Like, I think that like it could use a bit more of that if you're experimenting on that. Kareem is suggesting, if you're willing to throw down on a plugin, I always love Kazrog's True Iron. There we go. It's not full reamping. It's not full outboard gear. It's more emulating a bit of that experience. But it's like, personally, I would love to hear this as more analog by nature, rather than like CD quality by nature, more tape quality at its point. To take it out of the box and make it seem like less of a record box mix. That would be my suggestion here. But this is really like a mastering thing. It's not even a mixing thing. I think your mix is strong, and there's obviously only so much you can do with a real live performance here. Think about how this hits my own weed ears. There you go. I want digital smoothness. Okay, so you absolutely want digital smoothness. It emphasizes the way the layers of dub EQ conflict with, makes it trippier. Okay, all right. So in that case, I mean, like, maintain that, and I don't know, like, find a way to, I would say, not brick wall it as much. If you can create a bit more headroom in that case, because part of me is thinking, if you want to go for like digital smoothness of like an 80s CD, that would tend to be quieter, a little less exaggerated in the master. My ear was going towards exaggerate this and saturate it even further. But if you're saying the opposite and you want to have it almost dated in that way, I would lay into a more delicate, dynamically master here, in which there is more like range. We can get squeezed at certain point, but there are quiet points too. It's not bricked as much. That would be my thoughts there. If you're aiming for that, you You want that cohesion. You want this to be believed as a 90s or 80s CD. Those are genuinely quieter than the music that we produce now. You know, the war on loudness is lost and loudness won, you know, especially on masters in the 2010s and onwards. So yeah, more headroom. You could fight against that even as a period piece. Let's call this that, you know. Them's the breaks. Them's the breaks. Right, it's like an impossible geometry version of a 90s CD is what I would describe your intent. There we go. Impossible geometry. I mean, I don't have to name the genre affiliations I'm getting here, but I said vaped out. It's certainly vaped out. I'll leave it there. But I really enjoy this work that you're doing in Rekordbox and doing live abstract turntablism within the DJ software. You know, it's a beautiful instrument to be able to do this with, but obviously requires like compositional intent, coming at it with choice sounds and songs and, you know, selections that you're going to send through it for both the formal DJ sets, obviously, but then going into this live collage sort of world. It's a beautiful thing. I recommend folks doing that. And hey, maybe, because I haven't given you all your monthly project yet, I was going to do that this week for the October to November season. Maybe we might do something like that, where we got to make a live dub using any sort of DJ software rather than a traditional DAW, whatever that may be. That might be interesting. I'm just jocking Breathplay's ideas and reworking them into text scores for the greater public. Just, you know, I did that with feedback too. They made a no input piece and I was like, yo, feedback, that's an idea. Let's do that for everybody. And lo and behold, we might be doing that again. Who knows? Or make your own DJ rig within a DAW. Interesting. Things to think about. Typical trans woman experience. Hey, you said it. I didn't say nothing. Fantastic. All right, we're going to leave it here for today. We got a good 5 in today. This was an evening of post music, without a doubt. We're going to get right back to it next week. Send in your work. Continue to send in your work. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/Parrotsky. If you enjoyed this and you don't feel like joining the Patreon or you don't have time to do all that, but you feel like shooting me some bucks, shooting me a tip if you enjoy this shit, shoot me a Venmo at max-alper. And once again, thanks to our sponsors at tapetrade.io, www.tapetrade.io, and our special sponsor for today, Selects4U on Instagram at selects.4.you. Check them out, shoot them a follow, get recommended some interesting music. And thank you all for hanging and banging this evening. We will be back next week. Same time. Great work from everybody. Always a pleasure. Seriously, some of my favorite stuff every week of new stuff listening to is the people who participate in this stuff. I say that without irony, without exaggeration. Like, some of my favorite music in general is when people send works in progress, you know? Just getting a peer, not the fully refined, not the finalized, not the mixed and mastered versions of things, you know, like really ground floor, being able to hear where someone's at. It's a mirror, you know, it evokes their personality in a lot of ways. And, you know, it's a vulnerable position to put yourselves in. So bravo to y'all for participating and doing this sort of stuff. You know, we have a nice, tight, small crew doing this. Tell your friends, take the leap. It's not that scary. I promise. Yes. Keep listening. Keep tuning in. Keep sending work on the Discord. And I will see ya next time. Have a great week, y'all. Bye-bye.